Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesdays. Today's webinar is titled Integrating ABE Career and Education Standards in Daily Instruction. This webinar and all IET Day webinars are supported and funded by the Florida Department of Education. I'm June Rawl, IET Day Director. With me today is Ronald Cruz. In order to truly implement the college and career readiness standards, we have to address the career and educational planning standards. We are all in the boat of workforce education, so we have to do our part in moving students towards a career pathway. This webinar will help you understand the basics of career and educational planning standards and learn some things that you can do in your classroom to achieve this goal. Before we get started, please note that your attendee microphones are muted. If you have a question, and I hope you do, please type it into the Q&A section of your screen. We will monitor the questions throughout the webinar to make sure that we respond to your questions and comments. If you have technical questions or concerns, please type those in as well. We'll be monitoring those questions and be able to assist you as needed. As in the past, today's webinar is being recorded. Look for it in the archives on the IET Day website. The recorded webinar will be available within 48 hours. As you access materials from the webinar section of the IET Day website, be sure to visit other sections of the IET Day website as we continue to upload new resources for GED preparation, ABE, and ESOL classrooms. Okay, Ron, well, let's get started with this webinar today.
Thank you so much, June, and thank you everyone for tuning in today on our Webinar Wednesdays. I'm very excited to conduct this webinar today because I know that this webinar is going to go along with everything that we are doing with IET Day in terms of the face-to-face workshops and everything else that is available to all of you through the IET Day website. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ron Cruz. I'm the coordinator of the Caribe Refugee Program here in Hillsborough County Public Schools. I'm also a statewide trainer for ABE, GED, and ESOL through Florida IET Day.
Ron, you stopped sharing. Restart. Reshare, please.
Wait a minute. Is it sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so before we begin, let's talk about some of our agenda for today. We're going to talk about the Workforce Innovations and Opportunities Act, which is also known to you as WIOA. I know it's been tossed around very frequently in your circles, so we want to talk about and get you informed on what this is. Another one is we're going to talk about the Integrated Education and Training, which is the model program that is designed for states to use in implementation of the Workforce Opportunities and Innovations Act. We're going to talk and spend a little bit of time about the Florida Integrated Career and Academics Preparation System, also known as FiveCAPs. After that, we're going to talk about the implications of all of these things that we just discussed and the implication of those things to you as a teacher. And then we're going to move forward with the career and education standards and see how those can be integrated into your class, into your daily classroom activities. And then learn a little bit more about the career clusters and integrating career-ready practices to instruction. And then we're going to summarize and do a little bit of an evaluation. So first of all, I'd like to ask you, why do we need to talk about WIOA and the Career and Educational Planning Standards? So use your chat button to share some of your ideas. Why is this so important for us to know? Why are you tuning in today? What are the things and questions that you have on your mind as you go into this training or this webinar? So let's talk about that for a minute. And let me pause for a couple of seconds for you to type the question that you have. some of the questions that you may have is going to be addressed by this picture. As you may know, it's all about the funding for ours. In the adult education world, we are funded by workforce funds, and workforce is guided by WIOA. So really and truly, if we want our division to be successful, then we have to do our part in addressing the demands and the expectations of WIOA. So let me test out and see, give a little bit of a pop quiz here. So let's see if you know your acronyms. Some of this I've already talked about in the objective slides, but let's see if you know some of these. So as I go through these, can you type on using your Q&A button, can you type some of what these things stand for? What do you think OCTAE stands for? How about CTE? That's an easy one. We already talked about WIOA and what it stands for. How about IET? What about this IET plus S that's being tossed around as well? How about the AEFLA? Do we know anything about that? And lastly is FiveCAPs. So let me just take a moment and see what you all just wrote. Okay, very good. Ms. Daniels says Office of the Career and Technical and Adult Education is what stands for OCTAE. CTE is Career and Technical Education. IET, we've covered that, and WIOA, we've covered that in the objective slides. WIOA is Workforce Innovations and Opportunities Act. IET is Integrated Education and Training, which is the standard model for that. IET plus S, the S stands for support, and I'm going to talk about that, what that means as we move forward. AEFLA and FiveCAPs, I already defined what FiveCAPs is, but AEFLA is Adult Education, Family, and Literacy Act, which goes hand in hand with WIOA. You know, these are the two major legislations that guide our work as educators in the adult education world. So let's talk about WIOA real quick. So WIOA is this big term that's being tossed around. You've heard it mentioned by your administrators. You've heard it mentioned by your coworkers. You've even heard this from your students. And this is the new big buzzword now that's been going around. And, you know, how do we feel about it? Are we going to be scared of it? Is this a sign of the times? What does it have to do with us in our work? Well, to tell you something about the WIOA, it's a landmark legislation. Okay, this legislation is focusing on the nation's public workforce, helping to get Americans into the workforce. Focusing on some of the youth, specifically providing some help to the ones that have specific barriers to employment, such as disability. And then talking about high quality jobs and careers. So not just working at a fast food restaurant, but really working on the field that they are certified on when they follow the career pathways in adult education. It is designed to help job seekers access employment, training, and support services in order to succeed in the labor market. So there's a lot of components to this law. I'm not going to play that I'm an expert about WIOA because I am not. What I'm here to do is to give you some basic information so you have some guiding framework as to how you're going to use this new landmark legislation to guide your work as an educator. And one of the things that I want to point out is that adult education is really spelled out in WIOA. Specifically adult education and literacy programs, in addition to vocational voc rehab programs, they are supposed to work hand in hand to assist individuals, especially the ones with disability, including the ones with disabilities, in obtaining education and employment. So WIOA is something that's really good for the local economy. It's going to be really good for the regional economy and national economy throughout. So there's lots of very high objectives and targets that is spelled out by WIOA. And these are some of these things that I would like to highlight. And I'm not going to read it out to you, but I just want to talk about some of the really cool things that that highlights in WIOA. Accountability and transparency. Everybody wants that, you know? We are getting funded through federal and state funds. So therefore, we need to be able to show how we are accountable to the tax dollars that we're having, and then also be transparent in communicating our success and achievements. In addition to that, it allows for collaborations, not just collaborations with localities, but collaborations between regions. It allows for school districts, career and technical colleges to be able to create a work-based training program. It allows individuals with disability to take advantage or at least access education. And then it makes key investments to the youth and other vulnerable populations, specifically the ones with disabilities. And it also streamlines and strengthens the strategic role of workforce development boards. So what is this IET that we are talking about? This IET stands for Integrated Education and Training, is the model program that is handed down because, you know, when WIOA came out, it's like the state said, well, how are we going to implement this? You know, how are we going to do all of these magnificent things that you spelled out in WIOA? Well, they came out. The Center for Law and Social Policy came out with a model that states can adopt or adapt to their own style or on how they wanted to implement that aligns with their own state's goals. So they released this IET. It's a promising, very promising model program, and it takes its roots on the adult learning theory. So really strikes at the heart of the adult education program. So that's the deal. But what is this IET? You know, what we want to know what specifically is this IET that we're talking about. Well, the IET has three major components. The first component is adult education and literacy, which is pretty much the forefront of this IET program. Another is workforce preparation, and then lastly is workforce training. Now, you can kind of see what these all meant to us, but just to summarize exactly what they meant is under the adult education workforce preparation component, the students that are coming to us in the classroom are given or are provided with the most rigorous research-based available instructional practices. It also directs us educators to focus more on improving the reading, the writing, mathematics, and it's also English proficiency for our ESOL students. And then, in addition to that, because of the workforce preparation component and the workforce training component of IET, it's driving and it's guiding us or is suggesting us educators to use occupationally relevant instructional materials in our classrooms. And I told you we're going to talk about the S because sometimes the IET in certain states and certain districts has the plus S on it, and that plus S stands for support. Because we can do everything we can on the education world, provide them with the English language learning, provide them with the basic skills in the 4 major subject areas, math, science, language, arts, and social studies, and then provide them with the career and technical vocational training that they need. if there are no support services, then it's not going to be as successful, or we're not going to be able to take full advantage of the program. So first of all, these support programs meant are these non-academic supports. So these non-academic supports are your career counselors, or your career counseling program, or your career pathways program, or your student services division, or student services center if you're in a community college or state college. These are the people that help navigate students through placement. So after they've gone through, or if not even after, but during their vocational technical training, that there's these people that's matching them to particular jobs, or particular to a particular labor market or workforce. It also, these support services also ensures that our students are coming to class. So these are the ones that are responsible, the people in your schools that are responsible for following up with students, checking on their performance, and eliminating any barriers that they may have to adult education. It could be it could be transportation, it could be childcare, and all those. And then these support services are the ones who tie them and connect them with the social services, so that they're able to take full advantage of adult education. Now let's talk about, and switch gears, talk about FiveCAPs, the Florida's Integrated Career and Academic Preparation System. FiveCAPs is not in all school district technical colleges and regions. FiveCAPs is a grant that is offered by the state to eligible providers. So it's available, you can take advantage or apply for this grant if you're a local education agency. So that includes technical colleges and school districts, even charter schools. And then community business organizations, or what we so-called CBOs, can also take advantage and apply for this grant. And then also institutions for higher education, so these colleges, community colleges, and universities. The purpose of this Florida Integrated Career and Academic Preparation System is to concurrently enroll students in GED, career tech, or any certificate program, and then tie them straight directly to a high-growth, high-wage industry using the support systems available to the school. It also provides a combination of academic and occupational instruction, and then also career guidance and support services in order to achieve that. In addition to that, FiveCAPs, people are the institutions that are awarded the FiveCAPs grant, they are tasked with accelerating students' progress. So they are working and getting students more proficient in these basic skills at a faster rate, and at the same time in the context that is more relevant to their interests or what they want to take on as a career in the future. They also, in this program, is so robust because it provides the students post-secondary certificates in addition to basic skills that they learn. So therefore, once they complete the program, they're ready to work. And also lastly is to increase the number of students that earn high school equivalency diploma and begin the pathway to earning credentials. So again, so there's a lot of targets and a lot of purposes for this one. And it's really just helping our students get to the workforce faster. That's, and that sounds really good for all the districts that have been awarded the FiveCAPs grant. They are doing wonderful things. I could just say in our county, here in Hillsborough County, we have created a hybrid program with phlebotomy, incorporated entry-level ESOL students into the phlebotomy vocational, and they're also concurrently enrolled to GED. So these students are in a very rigorous and intensive program, and they're learning in a way that there's sometimes 2 or 3 teachers in the classroom, integrating all of these major components and skill into instruction. So it's a very robust program. And I think it's really, it's starting to gain ground from a lot of our students here. At first, they didn't know what these hybrid programs are, but now that they know that how it's able to get their foot ahead into the vocational program. So once they complete the program, let's say this one that's phlebotomy hybrid with the GED, they already have some idea if they want to pursue any medical or health service vocations. So they already made up their mind because they know what they're getting into. The phlebotomy course also helped them learn what is expected in the medical field and what type of vocabulary and reading and what type of work and technique and skills that are needed in that course or program. Then they're able to make a decision and make a stronger decision, and it really helps increase the retention in the programs in the career and technical colleges. So now after we've talked about WIOA, we've talked about FiveCAPs, we've talked about IET, all of these acronyms, what do these things have to do with you? If you're an ESOL teacher, if you're an ABE teacher, or maybe you're a credit teacher, or you are a GED prep teacher, we're all in different silos sometimes, and we don't kind of communicate to each other unless our district allows us to, unless we have a program that is housed all together in one building, then there's cross-curricular collaboration. But for you, I'm going to toss this question out to you. What are the implications of these things to you as a teacher? Because I know I've tossed this question around in the beginning, but really now I'm asking for specifics. So you can answer this question as we go along the webinar, but just so you know, I really need to think, and I really need to have a good grasp of what is the purpose of these things and how important are these things that we just covered to you. I'm going to give you some ideas as we move, because that's what this webinar is all about. So first, let's talk about the IET again. So this is a really, really good visual. I added this to the handouts so that you can have it. I also, I think, included the model IET that was released by the Center for Law and Social Studies that you can read about at your own time if you want to learn more about the integrated education and training program. But again, let me just show you the three major components of the IET. So again, at the top is adult education. So you see really adult education is at the forefront of everything that we will be doing with WIOA. So if you look at that, take a moment to read all of the little components. It has adult education, it has literacy, it has workplace education, it has family literacy activities, it has English language acquisition activities for our ESOL students. It's got integrated English literacy and civics education for our EL civics programs in your schools. And then you have workforce preparation activities, and then lastly, the integrated education and training. So those are all spelled out in this IET. If you read the document a little bit more carefully, you will see that it is the leading component of IET. So whatever you do in the classroom is really dependent, whatever you do in the classroom is really contributing towards the success of your district in achieving WIOA standards. Also, education providers that have been given the FiveCAPs grant, this is going to be an excellent, IET will be an excellent model for them in implementing the FiveCAPs. And then what is spelled out, if you read the document a little bit more, it's going to go into a little bit more specific as to how we're going to implement the WIOA standards under the adult education program. And under the IET model, it's spelled out college and career readiness standards for adult education as one of the sample curriculum. And for our state of Florida, we have adopted the college and career readiness standards. the one that you see in blue to the right of your screen, that is the College and Career Readiness Standards for Adult Education released by OCTE, Office of the Career and Technical Adult Education, and it was written by Ms. Susan Pimentel. Now from that, our state went to work. All of our all of the people that are in the Department of Education of Florida worked together and put their minds together to create this curriculum framework. So the curriculum framework, the one that you see to your left, is the fruit or the product of the College and Career Readiness Standards for Adult Education. In addition to that, IETS refers to the increasing intensity and quality of reading. So really it impacts what you do, because you are the teachers of these basic skills. And according to IET, that we need to do a little bit more intensive and provide quality reading, writing, mathematics, and ELP through our instruction. So let me look back again and flash this slide again, where you see this excellent visual for the IET. If you look at the second box where it says workforce preparation, they're embedded in there are what we call the career and educational planning standards that are spelled out in our curriculum frameworks for adult basic education. So according to this model, not only should adult educators focus on the basic skills, but we must also start beginning the workforce preparation program during these early stages. So let's take a look at this career and educational planning standards. So if you are holding a copy of your career and education planning standard, your ABE curriculum frameworks, it's on page 3 of that document, and I kind of put a rectangle there just to highlight where it is. It's towards the bottom of page 3. So then I blew it up here so that you all can see what is included in the career and educational planning standards. The following career development standards are designed to be integrated in the ABE frameworks to assist the students in career exploration and planning. So that's pretty much the whole goal of why this is incorporated in our curriculum frameworks. So there are 4 career standards, okay? And I'm just gonna read them all to you as you read silently with me. The first one is develop skills to locate, evaluate, and interpret career information. So this is pertaining to seeking jobs. Are we doing enough in our classroom? Are we incorporating job seeking opportunities in what we do in the classroom? Is there an opportunity for that integration? The second one is identify interests, skills, and personal preferences that influence career and educational choices. So a lot of our students, they come to adult education not knowing what they wanted to do, or they're not quite sure yet. Oh, I'm not quite sure if I want to take culinary arts, or I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to take on a career in the health field, because maybe your student is a second language speaker and everything in the health field is in English, and there will be interacting. So speaking English is really a necessary skill. Speaking, reading, writing in English. So really, we need to start and helping our students kind of formulate in their minds what they wanted to do as early as the ABE. The next one is identify career cluster and related pathways that match career and educational goals. So again, this goes alongside with the second one. If we know the career cluster the students are going, that will just help us, teachers, kind of differentiate the classroom based on the various career clusters our students are going to and doing activities in these groups. And then lastly, develop and manage a career and educational plan. So does the student have an educational plan? Does the student have a career pathway towards that dream job that they want to have? Are you able to help as a teacher, as an adult educator? Are you able to help your students formulate that plan? And those are the four career and educational planning standards. So you've heard me say the words career cluster. So do we even know what these career clusters are? I took these, there are 6 career clusters, major career clusters. I took this from a website, from the CTE website. And there are many websites that groups careers in various ways, but we're just going to go by with this, for the purposes of this webinar, we're just going to go by with the 6 major career clusters. And some of the career clusters have subgroups, and those subgroups also make up a large component of the various careers under that cluster. So we have, first of all, we have agriculture, and this is just to give you an idea of what these career clusters are, so we can kind of differentiate our classrooms a little bit better and find material or relevant material that we can use in our classroom. Because if we focus on a particular job and not so much as the cluster where a job belongs, you as a teacher will end up trying to look for several materials to match each type of job. Like take, for example, health science. Health science, you have some students that will be going into, let's say, certified nursing assistant, or another student is lab medical technician, or another student wanted to be an LPN. You have another student that is wants to be a massage therapist. These are, if we get so hung up with the particular job, it's going to be very difficult for us to kind of create or somewhat find materials that is out there that are relevant to each of these jobs. But it will be very easy for us to find, let's say, a particular resource in health science in general. So that's why I'm trying to introduce to you these 6 major career clusters, because it's going to be an easier way for you to differentiate and also look for relevant materials for your class, for your students. So let me just spell out the 6 clusters. We have our agriculture, food, and natural resources. So examples of these are farmers, examples of these are nutritionists, those types of things. Under the arts, communications, and information system, you got everything that involves audio and video technology or communication. So broadcast people, air traffic controllers, that type of thing. And then you have the arts, you have the dancers, the painters, the singers. And then you have now another subcomponent of that is information technology. So those, you have the computer programmers, the ones that work on the software, and then you have the people that work on the hardware, where are the computer engineers. Now, computer engineers in particular may also belong under engineering, manufacturing, and technology. So these career clusters do not, some of these areas, they're not clear cut. They're not like, just like I said, information technology may include in software engineers, and you can also have computer engineers. And under this cluster, we're looking at transportation, distribution and logistics, architecture and construction, science and technology, engineering and mathematics. So those are the 3 major subgroups of the engineering, manufacturing, and technology career cluster. And now we go into the health science. So health science is a huge career cluster in its own. Moving on, human services. So you got, you got the police officers, you got the paralegals, you got teachers, you got school administrators. So those are there are people those are the jobs that belong under human services. And then lastly, you got the business management and administration. So you got the marketing people there, hospitality and tourism. So your hotel and restaurant managers are in this group. Under the finance, you got your accountants there, your billing clerks. Those are the types of jobs that belong under that group. So getting an understanding of the various career clusters and talking, and even just using the words career cluster in your classroom will help promote students towards thinking about, oh, what do I want to be after I finish my ABE course, or what do I want to work towards when I pass all 4 subject areas of the GED test. So before I move on to the next slide, I want to take a moment and pause for questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me use the Q&A tab on your screen. All you got to do is click on it, and then you can type directly on the small window that pops up. And then as I am looking through some of your chats and Q&As, I wanted to just read out some of the comments from the participants. This one is from Randy Mogan. According to this adult educator, we must incorporate career training in our classroom to prepare our students. Really, adult education is not the end all be all. You know, the reason that they are in adult education because they are using that as a stepping stone towards higher level education or a career goal. So yes, truly, I really appreciate your comment, Randy. Another person in the name of Susan mentioned or commented that a transitions team we're looking on how to integrate training into our program more effectively. So according to Susan, based on her comment, I can tell that there is certain need in here in their department as to transitions team, which is really important. That's what I kind of stressed out, that IET will not be as successful without that plus S in there, which is the support system. And then we have some other components here. Okay, according to Janiyah Jones, we need to start focusing on students finishing faster, which is true. Even without WIOA, even without FiveCAPs, even without IET, isn't our ultimate goal in the classroom is to get them in and out, get them in, get the necessary skills they need, fill in those gaps, and then move them on to the next goal. Because again, we all know that the adult education world is not the end all be all for their career path. We, according to Christy, WIOA compliance for our grant and better motivations for students as classes will be more applicable to them. And they're also learning career and life skills. So according to Christy, there should be a stronger integration between applications, career, content, and life skills, which is really important. I really am very happy for these comments because I know that some of us really have a deep understanding of how WIOA will impact our daily work. So thank you very much. Keep those comments coming. I really appreciate your comments because we're all in this together. Just like I said, we're all in one boat. So the success of the ABE teacher, it depends on the ESOL teacher. The success of the GED teacher depends on how strong the foundations of that ABE student received and provided by that ABE teacher. And then at the same time, this PSAV or post-secondary adult vocational courses are really expecting the students to have all the necessary basic skills already when they come into these programs so that they are more successful. So now I want to go in and to talk about really these are just some of the suggestions that I'd like for you to kind of try out and see if you're thinking about, so what do you want me to do? How do you want me to, what are teachers doing out there? How are they changing their instruction to match the demands of WIOA, to align with their district's FiveCAP's goals, to align with their district's career pathway goals? So I posted right in front of you, you're looking at it, some suggestions for language arts. So I kind of divided it up into the 4 major subject areas. So when you're a language arts teacher, regardless whether you're an ABE or a GED teacher, you're doing a lot of reading in your classroom. So when you do, select articles, reading material, literature that is in the context of the various career clusters. That will help your students identify what they want to be in the future, or if they have a particular preference in a particular field, help you kind of cater what they're reading to their future goal. In addition to that, you're also writing a lot in the language arts, so why not build a resume with that? Use the resume, use the resume activity to develop the writing skills of your students. If you want a more formalized writing, then practice on writing a cover letter with your students. We talked about claim, evidence, and reasoning in a lot of our face-to-face workshops and our online courses and all of that. This would be a perfect opportunity for you to apply that. Writing a cover letter, because you're making a claim that you are the best person for the job. So how can you convince me? Provide some evidence of your work, provide some evidence of your experience, and provide some reasoning as to why these things are valid support for your claim. So really a really good practice and application of what you're trying to learn in the language arts college and career readiness standards. Another thing is you do a lot of proofreading and writing, and students have to do that too, especially on the GED test. Right after they finish their writing prompt, they're not supposed to just click on to the next and waste the remaining minutes of their time of testing. Students need to go back to what they wrote on that GED test and look in and proofread, correct the grammar, correct the spelling. Use that, use the proofreading skill and proofread the cover letter and the resume that you created in previous activities. It's good to have specified cover letters and also job-specific resumes, because a resume for a teacher would look very different as if you're applying to be a cook, or you're trying to land a project to become a musical artist. The artifacts of writing and speaking that you present during your audition or during your interview look very different. So do an activity with your students that looks at these various scenarios in various career clusters. And then also when you do your listening and speaking activities with your ELA students, then practice speaking and listening in the context of a job interview. So that's really some of the suggestions that I have for language arts teachers. Now let's look at mathematics. We did this for all of you that have attended our face-to-face workshop. We did some applications of the career and educational planning standards into the ABE workshops. If you're not, and if you're new, one of the things that we kind of stressed out in those face-to-face workshops, and we did a really cool activity, is to select or craft a word problem in various contexts. And you'd be surprised, when I went into these trainings all around the state, teachers can come up with really cute, neat, and clever word problems at various fields. And I'm just very happy to send a shout out to a lot of the teachers from Alachua County, a lot of the teachers, if there are some teachers here that are listening from Escambia and Pensacola Beach area. I really enjoyed some of the really cute word problems that you crafted for us during our face-to-face workshop. It's not very difficult to find a word problem. You can just pick out any general type word problem and change the context of that word problem into, let's say, carpentry, landscaping when we do areas, or even cosmetology. Like cosmetology is kind of tough, right? But, people in the cosmetology world, they deal with volumes as much as people in the culinary arts world. So they are talking about depth and area, and they're talking about surface area. They're talking about volumes when they order materials and supplies. When teaching a particular math skill, identify the career cluster that uses that skill extensively. So let's take, for example, you are already towards the end of your curriculum and you're talking about functions, and then tell them, well, functions is really used a lot in the fields of mechanics and electricity. So if you're planning to go into that field, it might be a good time to start really becoming more proficient in this area. Use learning trajectories. This is another component that we covered heavily in our face-to-face ABE workshops throughout the state. Use learning trajectories to map out the series of skills student has to master in order to land a particular job. Just like I said, in the field of electricity, you have to learn a lot of equations and a lot of functions. So where does that all start? And you'll be surprised that you really need to be proficient with functions, with fractions, in order to be proficient with functions, which are two very separate kind of bodies of knowledge in mathematics. But if you map out a trajectory, as the students learn functions, they're building the necessary skills in order to understand how functions work. Here are some of the suggestions that I have for science teachers. For those of you who teach science, teach them how to read, understand, and analyze tables, graphs, charts. Those are really very important in the GED test. The GED test is riddled with these charts, tables, and diagrams. Even the math problems incorporate tables, charts, and diagrams. So use the opportunity during your science time to talk about, read, and analyze statistical data and information. If there's not enough in your book, there's lots of statistics out there in the real world. Bring them into the classroom. Take a newspaper, for example, or pick up a Facebook post, or somebody that posted something on Instagram that has a picture of a piece of data or ambiguous type of data. That's really a good starting point for a discussion in your class, and that's really improving a lot of the science practices that is laid out in the college and career readiness standards. In addition, you can also implement some scientific practices, let's say evaluating and communicating information about a career cluster. Towards the end, I'm going to show you kind of like a website that has a lot of these articles and information about various career clusters, and students can use scientific practices when reading through these materials. And then lastly, under the suggestions for science, I want to talk about carrying out experiments, because the various career clusters in the real world, they actually deal with experiment. They experiment with a lot of things a lot of times because companies want a more streamlined service delivery. They want a really hot product out there. They want something that is functional. They want something that's durable. They want services that are very efficient, and they're always trying to look for ways in order to improve and streamline the work and effectiveness of each person in the team. So use that opportunity, use that scenario, plan an experiment with your students, look at the, take their career cluster or their job that they wanted to do, and then think about some of the experiments that may be involved in that job. And in here, for example, in farming, plan an experiment to determine the ideal amount of fertilizer given to strawberry plants for every 10 square meter of field. This, to me, sounds like a math problem on the offset, but it's really not, because what students will be doing is they're going to have to conduct experiments. How much do I have? I need to know whether I'm putting in too little or too much, because you over fertilize, that's bad too. So you really need to find that ideal amount of fertilizer, and it will depend on a particular plant. So you get into talking about dependent and independent variables. You're talking about control, So these are the things that students need to be familiar with in the science component of the GED test. Use that opportunity when you're teaching those things to put it in the context of a particular career cluster. And then lastly, social studies. Social studies is very, very similar with science. Some of the skills are very identical. In social studies, you also deal with lots of tables, charts, and diagrams and graphs. And I just found this, this neat article at a newspaper, and this article was talking about Steve Jobs. But look at it. Look at the article on its own, and it has charts and graphs. Now you ask yourself, does the student understand how to read? Or does the student know how to read this graph, let alone answer some questions pertaining to the graph below? Does that mean good? Does that mean bad? Can the student make that determination? Or can the student use the chart and the table on the top, or even the chart, to provide or support a particular claim when we're doing a writing activity? So practice reading and analyzing statistical information with your students is only beneficial. When you go into the career world, you are dealing with real-time data. You're seeing customer satisfaction surveys. You're looking at employee satisfaction surveys. You're looking at product, which products are people buying, and a lot of research, a lot of these companies really invest a lot of their money into research and market research because they want to be competitive. And so we want the students to already have these skills as they prepare towards that dream job that they wanted to. Discuss current events with them. There's lots of current events happening right now. Focus on the current events that are on a career cluster. I just read in the news, Ford is investing millions and millions of dollars towards a revitalization and also improving their technology. And I think they're building a new plant from what I've read. And that is a career goal, for some of your students. So what if they wanted to be part of that, the opportunity that is being posed by Ford? What if you have a student that really wants to be an auto mechanic, or maybe a computer scientist that wanted to work on the technology component of Ford? So those are the types of things that could be really good discussion pieces for current events. And what are the implications of that to the local economy? Try to improve that critical thinking skills with your students that are developed in their social studies, but at the same time have them thinking about that career goal. So I want to spend a few moments to talk about what is out there for you. If you're still unaware, still lost, I don't know where to get these materials you're talking about, Ron. Well, the materials are already out there. One resource that I'm going to tell you is just go back to the IPDE website. Go to the IPDE website. We have several career-based webinars that we've conducted already. In this particular one, I did a webinar on employability skills framework, which goes hand in hand with this webinar. So if you have not seen that, I did it back in November, but if you have not seen that or you missed that webinar, you can go back to the IPDE website and listen or view the webinar again as if you're actually participating in the webinar, if you don't want to miss out on the information that is covered. So I'm going to switch out of my slides a little bit here and then show you where they are on the IPDE website. So if you're here on the IPDE website, so you're going into this landing screen, there's two sections where you can find webinars. So first of all, if you click on ABE and you go into the webinars channel, just click on it. And there you go. You see all of the webinars. They're archived by date. So the latest webinar would be at the top portion. And then as the webinar, if the webinar happened, let's say 4 or 5 months ago, it's still going to be here. It's just going to be towards the bottom. So you're not going to miss out on anything, especially this one. This webinar is being recorded, so you can go back. You know, if you had to step out for a minute and you missed on a component that I discussed today, you can come back and rewind and review and pause, whatever. Or you can look into the handout that's available with this webinar. Bottom line, IPDAY has a lot of stuff for you in terms of webinar and information that you can use in pursuing your, in tackling the career and educational planning standards of your college and career readiness standards. Another thing that is out there in the IPDAY website is check out the event calendar. So I'm going to switch out of here again because there's other things. I'm going to go back to home. So I'm going to go back here to, this is your landing page. So when you go into this landing page, you go into the event calendar. This is always the first stop when I go into the IPDAY website to see, okay, what's new out there? What's coming? Are they coming to my town? Are they coming to a school district close to me so I can take advantage of any of the trainings available? Or I can send my teachers to take any of those training. So as you can see, we are still on the March calendar. But I want you to take a look at the April calendar because I know that I mentioned that I'm going to be covering the technology standards. I will be covering the technology standards on April 26th, which is another piece that I wasn't able to cover enough during the face-to-face ABE workshops. So that is to come. And all you got to do is click on more details. And once you click on more details, that will allow you to register by clicking on the register here. It's usually located at the bottom of the pop-up screen. So I'm going to return back to the home page and then go back to my slide and talk about grab and go videos. So if you don't know what grab and go videos are quick 2, 3 to up to 4 minutes of video. Videos that you can use with your student in the classroom or videos you can use yourself to review on certain things that you wanted to do in the classroom. This one in particular that I've created is a grab and go video on the properties of right triangles. Specifically, I use it in the context of designing a pool slide. So under the field of construction and also plumbing, if you want that pool to have water in it, if you want it to be a water slide. If you go into the IPDAY website and look at these grab and go videos, you can see that there's a ton, actually all of the grab and go videos that I have designed are very career centered or centered towards a particular career cluster. So they're readily available. You can click play right in front of your student. It comes with lesson plans, activities, and additional problems. So we call it grab and go because that's all you really do is just take it and go because it's a complete lesson for you and provides you with every piece of material you need to address a particular standard. And to just show you where it is, the grab and go videos, you can go to either GED or ABE. For this purpose, I'm going to go into ABE, and then you click on videos, and under videos, you have them also in here, and they're grouped by subject area. So all you got to do is click on a particular video link, and it will give you this screen, and it will play here. You can play it directly out of YouTube. It also has the capability for a full screen. So don't worry about the screen being too small right there. Once you hit play, it's going to take over your screen. All right. And then I also wanted to talk about something that's coming out to your that will be offered by IPDAY. It's the BYOD, or Bring Your Own Device in the Adult Educational Classroom. It is a virtual training that's going to be focusing on technology, the use of technology, and how you can maximize technology use in your classroom, what is out there that's new, that is available. The Kentucky Educational Television, or KET, is conducting that that virtual training. It's on April 12, 2017. It starts at 2 p.m. and ends at 4 p.m. If you are one of those districts or colleges that would like to participate, please email June Rawl and express your interest or your desire to participate. I posted her email right there at the bottom of the screen, and it's also going to be on your handouts later on. Lastly, I just wanted to summarize everything that we talked about. Implementing the career standard has a really strong purpose, okay? It has major components embedded in it. It's not just handed down to us to make our lives easier. These are supposed to help our students become more competitive and have the necessary skills they need in order to enter the workforce. So you as a teacher need to start contextualizing your lesson into the various career cluster in however way you can. And you're not going to be able to know that or do that effectively unless you already know, or you do you create an activity where you will discover the interests, the skills, the career preferences of your students. Or if they're undecided, then you as a teacher should help in helping the students make up their minds based on their skills, because you, the teacher, would know what they're really good at, you know? And then lastly, implementing the workforce preparation standards or the college and career readiness standards or the standards for career and educational planning is not too difficult. It should not be time consuming. If you find yourself, oh my God, this is too much work. I'm looking at the computer, I'm browsing the internet all the time. I don't have a book for this. I don't have a book for that. That should be a telling sign that you are doing too much. It shouldn't be. It should be simple. It should be organic. It should be straight to the point. Students, they don't like all this fluff. They want you to go straight to the point. How is this skill going to help me in the job that I want to do? Or how is this going to help me pass the GED so I can get into that vocational course? Or how is this going to help me pass the writing portion of the GED so that when I do pass and I do decide to go to higher education or apply at a community college or a university in my area, that I will have the necessary writing skills to survive that program. So that's kind of like my last word to all of you. Hopefully I was able to provide you with some useful feedback and information. We would like to keep your comments coming. I would like for you to go in, and if you have a smartphone and you have a barcode scanner, go ahead and scan the QR code in front of you. And what's going to happen is it's going to lead you to an online survey. I just wanted to know what you think. Was this helpful? Was I able to impart some really cool ideas for you, or was it not? Or is it enough? Do we need more time to discuss these standards or these career and educational planning standards? So the only way I'm going to know that, other than what you commented during this webinar, is when you go into this Survey Monkey link. So I provided, if you don't have a smartphone, you can just copy and paste this Survey Monkey link into your browser and then complete the survey. It's only 5 questions, really quick. You can be done in 2 minutes, I guarantee. So with that said, I would like to thank you for participating in this webinar. Hopefully you were able to take away some really cool ideas to implement in your classroom. Once again, me and the team of IET Day would like to say thank you for your participation and lending us your ear this afternoon. Until our next webinar, have a wonderful afternoon.